Hi, everyone. So happy that you guys are all here. We're going to start with the next round of 12 minutes me. I have one question and one favor to ask you right away. If you guys would please all come a little bit closer, that would be amazing for the speaker, for the general acoustic, and I think you guys will have get more out of it as well. So just, yeah, don't be shy, come a little bit closer. Just a few introductory words to the format, if in case you haven't been here just now. So we're going to hear 12-minute talk, so a 12-minute keynote. Afterwards, you will have 12, not 12 like usually, but 6 minutes time to ask questions. And yeah, just feel free to raise your hand and then we will come to you with a microphone. So let us right away start with the first speaker. His name is Nils Seebach. Nils is, I would say, not an unknown figure to the startup community of Hamburg. He has developed and founded several companies, of which are Striker, Factor A, eTribes. He is also running at the side a quite widely read blog called digitalkaufmann.de. And his topic of the day is political responsibility of entrepreneurs. So please give a warm applause for Nils.
So guys, I'm going to use my valuable 12 minutes to again ask you to please come closer. I prepared a beautiful presentation. Very sad if you can't read it. Don't worry about the stairs. Come on up.
That's great. Thank you.
Yeah, 2 people taking the initiative. I like it. All right. So let's get started. I was asked earlier this year to talk about my entrepreneurial experience. And it was a very exciting time to kind of say what I learned while being an entrepreneur. And then when Oliver called me and said, look, we're putting together a conference about society, I asked myself several questions. So the first one was, have I benefited from society as a whole? Or am I giving back to society just because I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm putting people to work, they pay taxes, I pay lots of taxes. So who's benefiting from who? And then I also looked back at my youth, and I saw that I was used to be very politically active. You can probably take this poster here and blackmail me. But I ran for office when I was 18. I wrote my thesis about political topics in college and in high school, right? And so over the last 20 years, I then went on and built companies, which to me was quite a big benefit. I also spent a lot of time starting to look like that guy, but that's unfortunate. But I asked myself, so if I'm an entrepreneur and society is the topic, and I used to be politically active, what's my responsibility in this? And what are really the biggest challenges of our time for our society? And I think digital transformation really is one of the biggest challenges we face as a whole, as a generation. There obviously are others, you know, climate change, peace and war, that kind of stuff. But I think digital transformation is really the one thing that we have a responsibility for solving. And I also looked at our chancellor. She gave a very cool speech in front of the Harvard graduation class. If you haven't seen it, please watch it. And she also spoke about digital transformation when she listed kind of the big challenges of our lifetime. And she said the following.
The digital transformation affects all facets of our lives.
So if Angie says it, it's probably true, right? And if you're listening to this talk, you're probably one of the people who benefited massively from digital transformation. Right? I'm definitely a beneficiary of digital transformation. So are you. If you work in a fancy agency in Hamburg or in a well-funded startup in Berlin, you're going to make a lot of money. Digital transformation for you is not threatening. It's really providing a lot of opportunities. But it would be really wrong to mistake our situation for the situation of the society as a whole, right? Because digital transformation for me is one of the major drivers for fear and uncertainty in our society, right? So most people actually are a lot more afraid because for them it's not an endless number of jobs, a lot of money they're going to make. This is digital transformation for most normal Germans, right? The city centers are empty. Job security is gone. What do you tell your child to study in the future? What's happening with your data? Is your bank account secure? I think these questions are much more on the forefront of people's mind when they think about digital transformation. So if digital transformation creates a lot of fear and uncertainty, what do people do? Throughout history, when fear and uncertainty was through some kind of event triggered, people turn towards easy answers, right? They look for people who give them easy answers and somehow help them with their fear and uncertainty. And I think there's quite a dominant amount of people in our society these days who are offering a lot of easy answers, right? People from the left, people from the right, plain and simple idiots, right? Who are just providing easy answers but no real solutions. And I think that's something really important to look at because that's threatening our society as a whole, because these people have one thing now that they didn't have before. They're using digital tools that the digital transformation gave them to reach a huge audience, right? And I think that's something different you had before. Before you had other people who needed to play ball with these people. The press was really important, the legal system was important, our democratic institutions were important, and so could somehow keep them in check and balances. But I think nobody, just like Donald Trump has shown, today nobody is keeping them in check anymore because they can directly interact with their audience. So you have a lot of fear in society, you have a lot of uncertainty in society, you have people who are giving easy answers and who now have the tools to give these easy answers very quickly. I mean, from their bedroom, they can reach hundreds of millions of people. And we didn't really have that before. So the German constitution just turned 70 this year, right? But will it turn another 70 years if we don't take responsibility and if we don't start to be more proactive? And by proactive, I don't mean things like going to an election and voting and so on, but really taking a stand and really defending our democratic system, right? So that was my thought process when I thought about this talk and my responsibility as an entrepreneur. And because Germans tend to see everything a little bit negatively, I thought I'm going to bring you some really good examples of people who are already taking responsibility. And maybe it will encourage you as well, those that benefit from digital transformation, to be more active, to do more things, and to support our democratic system a little bit more. And so the first one I'm going to show you as a really positive example of somebody who is helping to fight the fear and uncertainty we see here is Hamburg's very own. I don't know if you've seen this video.
Alle Deutschen haben das Recht, sich ohne Anmeldung oder Erlaubnis friedlich und ohne Waffen zu versammeln.
So Philipp Westermeier, by all means, a very successful entrepreneur here in Hamburg who put a big stamp with the festival onto the city, took a role in this video defending our democratic values, reading from the German constitution, and really putting his face forward and saying, look, I do take my responsibility serious, and as a successful entrepreneur, I also have to give back to society. Now I'm looking to Bremen, right, another Hansestadt. I don't know if you know this guy, a very successful entrepreneur, somebody who I met very early on, who impressed me hugely when I met him, Carsten Meyer-Heder.
Wann wussten Sie denn, dass Sie die Politik lieber zum Beruf machen wollen?
Das ist ein schleichender Prozess. Ich möchte ja die Politik auch gar nicht zu meinem Beruf machen. Also ich habe ja nach wie vor die Firma, sondern ich wohne in Bremen, ich bin hier geboren, ich finde es eine tolle Stadt und ich ärgere mich über ganz viele Dinge, wie hier regiert wird und wie hier miteinander umgegangen wird. Und da habe ich mir irgendwann mal gesagt, immer nur meckern, bringt auch keinen weiter. Und habe gesagt, ja, ich probiere es.
Again, I think this is a really good example of an entrepreneur who really didn't need to go out and do something, but he already described his motivation. He wasn't happy with how the political system was run. He wasn't happy how things were being done. So he decided to go out and run for office. And he got a very respectable result. It doesn't look like he's going to be in the next election, but in the next government. But overall, he did put himself forward. He went out and tried to change the political system and influence people in a more positive way. And lastly, of course, I have to always mention my buddy Tarek.
Left or right?
Black.
Or white? Your choice.
Borders
Or bridges? Boys or...
girls or both? Rolling now.
Or never?
Your choice.
Life is all about making choices.
But your most important choice is to choose
at all. Make your choice and vote in the EU election.
This
This is about you. It's about
your choice.
About You ran this trailer and spent quite a bit of money for the European elections to encourage people, especially their target group, a younger group of people, to go vote in the election. So they put the T-shirt up into their store, said, look, this is how it looks if there's no choice, and you could only buy the T-shirt. And then they promised people who bought the T-shirt a discount to the online store equally high to the voter participation. So if you went and voted and 60% of the population went to vote, you got a 60% discount. So I think this is quite a strong example how somebody took that responsibility not only as a private person, but really encouraged through his means, through his companies, through much bigger resources, political participation in our system. And he also took a stand, right? Not everybody is going to like it, but he did take a stand to do it. And I think, especially with Tarek, you have a very good example of an active entrepreneur who also has a clear political agenda. And he said that in the conference, I think also about half a year ago. Ja.
Und dann habe ich versucht zurückzurechnen, okay, Hamburger Bürgermeister, aber ich habe eigentlich keine der Parteien, die heute existieren, finde ich jetzt so 100% cool und deswegen würde ich davor gerne eine eigene Partei gründen. Und dann habe ich aber gedacht, so, was willst du denn dann eigentlich erreichen als Politiker? Und ich bin ja Unternehmer und gerade als Internetmensch hat man immer erstmal so Metriken getrieben und optimiert immer auf Ziele und Metriken.
Well, I think he essentially described that his overall wish is to become mayor of Hamburg in a couple of years, and he wants to start his own party for that. And I think, again, it shows his sense of responsibility towards our society and to make a bigger impact. And I think that's what entrepreneurs do. And I hope that I could describe the motivation for people to get into politics, to be more active in our society. I think entrepreneurs who benefited from the digital transformation are in a very strong position to do so. But so are you, because you all are benefiting from the digital transformation. So by all means, please become more active. And I hope you enjoyed my 2 cents on society and digital transformation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nils. Thought that was very interesting. We have 6 minutes for your questions. I have tons, so does anyone want to start? Otherwise, I will just start. Any questions for Nils? Okay, let me ask you something. I would like to turn the perspective back to political parties. If you were head of digital at CDU or SPD, so the 2 big parties in Germany that are, I would say, in a big crisis, what would you recommend to them at this point? How do they interact better with society, with especially young people?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would try to kill off the other 6 heads of digital transformation in this company. So if you look, how many Ministerien do we have in Germany for that? I think 4 or 5. So I would try to make it a very clear topic for the political agenda, because it does affect all facets of life, just like Angela Merkel just said. But there isn't a clear leadership in the parties yet. So I think, first of all, the parties need to find a position they want to take. And then, again, move towards a positive interaction with digital transformation. Okay. And I think you need to show different measures and different types of things that takes the fear and uncertainty from people. And it can be very simple infrastructure things, for example. being able to use my cell phone from the train to Hamburg to Berlin would be a great benefit. And it doesn't need to be more complicated than that. I think the government needs to provide basic services, basic infrastructure, so I can follow my vision and I can live my life as freely and to the best ability. So I think I'm not asking political parties to come up with a big political master plan for digitalization, but having cell phone reception and having strong internet connections would be a way to start. It sounds simple, but first thing I would start with.
Sure. What about the reaction? Really, I think a textbook example of crisis communication gone wrong, the reaction to the Rezo influencer video, and the CDU in the end came up with a position paper that I think it was 15 pages long or something that no one would ever read. What would you have done?
Well, honestly, they look like idiots, but so do most companies that that face a social media crisis. So I don't think they kind of broke the rule. I think most companies are handling social media very badly. And honestly, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, and I think it's an important lesson they learned. And I wish they would interact again and again that badly, because it shows them what's going wrong, and it will hopefully encourage people to rethink and to change things. So I hope it just creates a little bit of it works like an agent of change for these parties to essentially get a better grip on digitalization, how you interact on a social media level. But again, it's probably a broader problem that people who are in power, in companies, in politics, wherever, face a big disconnect to the current social media system, generation, I don't know how to call it.
Another reason for more young entrepreneurs to step up, because they know how social media works. So if they get involved in politics, maybe automatically we will have a better sense of what's going on in the digital.
Like most things, time will heal the problem.
I've seen a question here.
Yeah, I think you just drew the comparison to companies who will fail if the men in power or women in power are not able to change fast enough. In politics, we see failure, which results in things like in the US, where Trump won, which might be positive for some, but I don't think it's positive for most. Do you have any ideas on how we can disrupt politics? Because I think they won't be able to do it alone, because they are working in politics for 20 years, most of them. So for them, it's as difficult or even more difficult than for companies.
Well, I think that the AfD hasn't been around a long time. Kevin Kühnert hasn't been around for a long time. They all are disrupting our political system as it currently stands. But they're a negative disruptor, right? And I think it's very simple. It's us who need to take a stand and who need to work on it. And it's simple but hard. If I'm a really successful entrepreneur, right, I would shoot myself before I become a politician, right? And I think that's the kind of the thinking you need to change. You need to make sure that that you take responsibility, but society as a whole kind of looks down on politicians, right? I mean, politicians have the same rating as prostitutes, pretty much, or probably a little bit lower than that. So we all need to rethink it. I think it's if you are politically active, it's a very good thing that you're doing it. And if you're an entrepreneur, you need to push yourself to, again, take a clear stand. That's why I brought the positive examples of people who really try to change things and who are taking more active stand.
I think Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez in the US is also a great example of someone who really knows how to use social media for a benefit, right?
But she's just as extremist, right?
Yeah,
she's just like Trump, just on the other side of the spectrum.
Maybe, but my question was going a little bit deeper, because I don't think it will help if all entrepreneurs like us will do like nice videos and engage people to vote. This is just basic democratic behavior to go vote. So it's good that you did it, but I think as long as most of the brilliant people go founding startups and no one thinks about, like, everyone is complaining about politics and politicians, but no one is really doing something. So in order to change, you need to go into politics.
To bad. Continue the discussion behind the stage, maybe. But thank you so much, Nils. That was really great input and inspiration.
Thank you.
All right.